Hey everyone, welcome to Bookends of Recovery, where recovery gets real and loved ones aren't left out. I'm Laura, and I've lived it. I've used, I've healed, and I've loved someone through it. So today, we are talking about productive numbing. Have you heard about it? Me either. And that's why we're talking about it. Because I had no clue what it was. It was kind of like when I heard about emotional sobriety. I was like, what's that? So, are you someone who enjoys staying busy? Because I was definitely that person. I thought that since I was busy, I was in like this really good recovery and that my healing journey was in great shape too. And then, just like so many other things on my recovery and healing journey, I was wrong. I was using what was called productive numbing because I was still white knuckling in my recovery journey. So, what looked like self improvement to me was actually an unhealthy coping strategy. So, what is it? Well, I'll just share a tidbit of a conversation that I had with my counselor. So I walked in and she's like, "Oh, hey, how you been?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm really good. I've been diving into this project at work and my kids are keeping me super busy. Oh, and I decided to repaint the living room, and then once I did that, I noticed that the hallways, needs to be done, and oh, and then the baseboards and blah blah blah." And she was like, "Oh, it sounds like you've been busy. Um, how are you doing with your healing and recovery?" And I was like, "Oh, I wrote some gratitude lists and I went to a meeting. So yeah, I'm good, I guess." And she just looked at me and she didn't say anything because she didn't have to. She rarely did because we'd been working with each other for long enough for me to know when I was heading into like that wonky territory. And if anyone is familiar with Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he's like, "What? No good?" That was me. And so finally I said, um, "Yeah, so like I haven't been doing any deep work since we last talked because I hit an emotional wall and it's really hard for me to move through that." And so I thought, since I wasn't crying on the kitchen floor or, like a lump on the couch, I thought I was doing really good. So she explained what productive numbing is. And she said, it's when we engage in activities and behaviors that appear to be helpful, but we're actually practicing avoidance rather than using healthy coping skills and practicing self care. So, here are some examples: overworking or hyper focusing on tasks. Check, check, check. uh, Perfectionism masked by standards. That's something else I loved to do. And then and then I'd be the first one that would be like, progress, not perfection. But at home, I'm like, wait a minute, I need to repaint this because it's not perfect. Uh, or cleaning and organizing as a way to avoid emotion. So that was something else I used to do. And don't mistake this for like when you're in the middle of a trigger and then, it's like stopping the trigger to go clean out your junk drawer. That's not the same. This is cleaning and organizing, like instead of working on yourself, or doing that whole constant self improvement journey, but not actually pausing to feel the feels. Or toxic positivity. So, this is when you're forcing yourself to look on the bright side without feeling any kind of pain. So when you're going, I feel so good, like today is such a day to live in gratitude. Like the sun is shining and I'm just feeling, the cool air and everything is beautiful and inside you feel like shit. Like that is not okay. I am all about reframing, being positive, trying to look for the good, but you cannot do that unless you also acknowledge that there is pain, there is anger, and you are allowed to feel that. You have to be able to move through all of the emotions that we have. So some of the signs that you're numbing under the radar is like if you're feeling anxious when you're not doing something, or if you being still feels lazy or unsafe, or you have a hard time naming what you're feeling, or you schedule yourself to the point of burnout, or you getting praised for just how strong and productive you are, even though you're secretly feeling really hollow. I'm definitely someone who used to need to like just be busy to feel useful, because to me being still meant I wasn't being productive. And what I didn't understand back then was that when I was still, it meant that I was forced to sit with my emotions. And some of those emotions were really scary for me to walk through. But for me to heal, I really needed to move through them. And back then, I needed the help of my counselor to walk through some of those emotions. And it's not uncommon for us to turn toward the things that make us feel safe, or the things that even get us praised because they help us feel validated. And for people pleasers, myself included, it's like a duck to water to keep overperforming, at work, or just saying yes to everything and making ourselves available 24/7 just to feel quote unquote good enough. And for those of us in recovery, many of us are rewarded for our productivity through coins and key tags and milestone markers. And if you've experienced trauma, staying busy might feel like the only way we can survive, especially during those overwhelming moments when slowing down feels like you have to face that pain head on. So, in those challenging moments, instead of asking, am I doing enough? Try asking yourself, what am I avoiding? And make sure that when you do that, you're being compassionate with yourself, because we find our most significant growth when we're being gentle and non judgmental towards ourselves. Remember, this is a journey and you are not doing it wrong. You are doing it in the best way that you know how. So I'm going to list some questions that you can write down if you so choose. You don't have to. But this can help you spot if you are being, if you're doing like the productive numb that I was so guilty of. So the first one is, what's one quote unquote productive habit I rely on when I'm overwhelmed or triggered? The next is, when I pause that behavior, what emotions start to show up. And then the last one is, what's a way I could offer myself comfort without needing to achieve something? And remember, you are not alone in this, because productive numbing is sneaky. But if you've ever felt emptier the more you get done, you're not imagining things. It's You're not doing your healing wrong or your recovery wrong. You're learning how to live these new experiences and these new emotions that we haven't had to go through, because we're learning how to stop and to pause. Especially like when I was doing my hypervigilance, I used that for so many months to avoid the pain that I was experiencing. So stopping it was probably one of the hardest things that I've dealt with. Um, I want you to remember how amazing and powerful you are. So if this resonated with you, or if you need any tools or anything, please visit bookendsofrecovery.com. I have free workbooks, and there's a way to find me there. If you have any questions, just go ahead and email me. I'm happy to help. You can also join other bookenders at Reddit as a new sub, where I post tools there as well. And you can find other people that are in recovery, or are loved ones of people in recovery. It's a safe space where we don't judge and we don't bash. And you can also join us over at Facebook, which is Bookends of Recovery. Bookends of Addiction Recovery. And just never forget your strength, your value, your lovability, and what a total superstar you are. So stay grounded, and I will catch you on the next time. I am sending positive vibes your way. I so much appreciate you being here. You are absolutely amazing.